So there's a lot of talk about how the Borg, the most advanced and dangerous species in Star Trek, supposedly, is in fact pretty useless. Well, I think there's actually some pretty decent explanations for how they actually exist while still having their problems. So, in this video, I'm going to, quote, fix the Borg without changing a thing. Can't wait to see how this goes over. I think when it comes down to it, the big problem is they're old. Yeah, that's the explanation at its simplest. They're old. While much of the tech they've assimilated grants them advantages over other races, the actual brains behind them are lines of code so old and running for so long they're basically a collection of glitches at this point. They talk about their advanced capabilities and perfection, because that's how they're programmed to talk and think. But in all likelihood, they don't actually understand most of what they're saying. The hive mind isn't actually a proper hive mind, not in terms of being the controlling factor of everything at least. The people very well may actually be stuck in some technology-based communal mindscape, but they're clearly not the ones doing the thinking that controls the hive. They just think they are because of the perception of a chorus directing their actions. And that's likely a mix of brainwashing and a computer-controlled communal voice. And they're probably drugged with all the pipes and tubes running everywhere. They're a race of addicts and they just don't know it. In reality, the thing calling the shots is the thousands of year-old lines of code running on ancient hardware that hasn't been changed or updated since whenever it was first written, probably. But what about the times we get the individuality that shows some coherent thought? I think that's pretty easy. The code that I've been mentioning has an if X happens, or maybe if X keeps happening, then designate a lieutenant to deal with it. Heck, look at the Queen. She clearly doesn't have much actual control. She's just able to give vague orders to a group of drones and hope they get it right. She rants about perfection because the code has been saying it for so long it's all she or any other drone knows. She just thinks she's in charge, basically. Because that's what she was meant to think. But she's still answering to that driving purpose that's telling her to do this, to do all these things. For more evidence on their actual age, look at how patchwork everything is. It's all welded together in pretty nonsensical, well, jury-rigged systems. They just glue stuff in place where they need it. And when you look at their tactics, which is one of the biggest complaints, they do the same thing over and over again. In that, I see poorly written code. It's brute force. They're trapped in a cycle of zero innovation, using the same tactics for everything. And I have definitely seen programs that have been written that do the same thing. One of the most basic pieces of code is an if-else chain. If X happens, then do Y. You just keep adding down the list, and then at the very end, you stick an else, do this, which catches anything that doesn't fit into the ifs. And yeah, there's a whole lot more advanced ways to add into it, but like I said, we're talking the absolute basic version here. And when I see the Borg, all I see is the else. For the vast majority of everything we see, they're just stuck in the else. They don't, all the stuff that comes before it has been forgotten, lost, stuck, whatever. They just don't activate and give them any kind of autonomy, assuming they even had a system that worked like that. It's entirely possible that the Borg were unleashed before they were ready to be. I think that someone built them, started them, and lost control of them either as a primitive uh, version or even in a prototype, and or they perhaps just set them loose to do their thing and never thought to check in on them or whatever. And the Borg have just been running on automatic, thinking that their goal is perfection and that they are perfection, when they don't know what the heck they're talking about. It's just a computer designed to think in one way, and because it's designed to think in that way, it does, and it can't comprehend beyond that. So this is a pretty short video, but I'm curious what you think. I mean, I think that does a pretty decent job of fixing the Borg without actually changing anything that we see of them in Star Trek. They just, what they say and what reality is two very different views. So, what do you guys think? Any thoughts, comments, corrections, complaints? Am I making sense here? Because this is the only thing that I can plug. This is the only thing that I can plug into them to actually make them make sense as they are. So, love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and please like, follow, subscribe, whatever the site you're viewing this on lets you do for more stuff. And like I said, let me know what you guys think. Have a good one, all.